I never imagined one weekend could redraw the lines between trust and temptation. Yet, as I look back now, I can trace every moment that led me there, the laughter, the glances, the quiet invitations disguised as kindness. I thought I was visiting family to heal. I didn't know I was walking into something planned. After my breakup with Caleb, I needed distance from everything familiar. 3 years of love had dissolved into suspicion, late-night arguments, and the quiet ache of betrayal. When it ended, I felt hollow, like someone had turned off all the lights inside me. So when my cousin Ryan called and told me, "You should come stay a few days. Get out of your head," it felt like an escape I couldn't refuse. Ryan and I grew up more like brothers than cousins. He was the confident one, the type who carried laughter like an aura. I, on the other hand, lived quietly, thoughtful, cautious, sometimes too cautious. It had been months since I'd seen him, but when I arrived at his house that Friday evening, his grin was as bright as ever. "Man, you look like you've seen ghosts," he said, pulling me into a hug. "We're gonna fix that. Weekend therapy, cousin style." That's when I met Leo. He was sitting on the couch, one arm draped lazily along the backrest, watching us with calm interest. "Ethan, right?" he said, standing to shake my hand. "Ryan's told me you were coming." His voice was low and even, almost soothing, the kind that fills silences without crowding them. There was a quiet confidence in him that caught me off guard, steady, grounded, maybe even dangerous in its calmness. Over dinner, the three of us slipped easily into conversation. Ryan told stories that had us laughing until the candles flickered. Leo mostly listened, but every so often, he'd ask something that landed deeper than expected, about my work, my past, my breakup. His eyes didn't wander when I spoke, they stayed fixed, as if he was listening to more than just words. There was something magnetic in that attention, the kind I hadn't felt in months. By the time dessert was over, Ryan poured another round of wine and said, "Let's make it interesting. Truth or dare? Old times, remember?" I laughed. "We're too old for that." "Never," he said, smirking. "Besides, Leo's never played with us." The first few rounds were harmless, truths about exes, dares involving silly impressions. But the questions turned sharper. Ryan asked Leo if he'd ever wanted something he couldn't have. Leo looked at me before answering, "Yes." The air thickened, but Ryan only laughed and poured more wine. Later, when Ryan went to take a call, Leo and I were left alone in the soft hum of the kitchen light. "He told me what happened with your ex," Leo said quietly. "You didn't deserve that." I smiled faintly. Maybe I did. Maybe I ignored the signs. He shook his head. "Or maybe you trusted the wrong person." The words lingered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Ryan returned, all warmth and noise again, breaking the tension like nothing had passed. The night stretched lazily after that, music low, conversation easy but edged with something unspoken. When I stood to go to bed, Ryan clapped my shoulder. "Glad you're here, man. You need a weekend of honesty." His grin was playful, but his tone carried something underneath, something I couldn't read. As I reached the doorway, he added, almost casually, "You trust us, right?" I turned, caught between confusion and amusement. "Of course," I said. Ryan's smile widened. "Good. Then relax. You're safe here." I nodded, though something in me stirred uneasily. That night, as I lay in the guest room, I could hear faint laughter from down the hall, Ryan's voice, Leo's softer one following. I tried to ignore the flicker of curiosity their closeness sparked, tried to convince myself I was imagining the way their glances had carried weight. But the thought stayed, hovering in the quiet like a whisper I couldn't quite push away. I closed my eyes, telling myself it was nothing, that I was simply reading too much into everything. Still, somewhere beneath that rational voice, another one murmured a warning, "Not everything kind is safe." That I should have listened. Sleep wouldn't come easily that night. The storm outside pressed against the windows, low thunder rolling like a heartbeat. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts circling Ryan's question, "You trust us, right?" The house felt alive with faint noises, laughter, the clink of glass, a door opening somewhere down the hall. Then, soft footsteps. A knock, almost hesitant. Ethan. Leo's voice, low and careful that I hesitated before answering, yeah. The door opened just enough for his face to appear in the sliver of light. Couldn't sleep either, he said. Mind if I come in? I nodded. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. He wore a loose gray t-shirt and sweats, his hair still damp from a shower. The air between us seemed to hum with quiet tension that he carried 2 glasses and a half-empty bottle of wine. Figured we could finish what we started, he said, a small smile curving his mouth that I tried to laugh, to keep it casual. Ryan's bad influence is rubbing off on you. Maybe, he said, pouring the wine. Or maybe I just wanted to talk without him interrupting every 5 seconds. We sat on the edge of the bed. The stormlight flickered against the walls, washing his features in silver. He asked about Caleb, how it ended, why it still hurt. His voice was gentle, almost protective, and that small kindness hit deeper than I expected. Ryan told me what you went through, Leo said quietly. He shouldn't have, but I get it. You're still carrying it. I stared at the glass in my hands. It's not easy forgetting someone you trusted. He nodded, setting his drink aside. Sometimes people take advantage of the parts of us that love too deeply. The words sank in like stones. I felt exposed, but not judged. Then his hand brushed mine, lightly, deliberate. I froze. I shouldn't, I whispered. Shouldn't what? Let this feel like something it's not. He didn't move his hand away. And what if it's something you need? The air thickened. My heart drummed hard in my chest. I told myself to stop, to stand, to leave, but I didn't. His gaze held mine, unflinching, like he was asking a question I couldn't yet answer. Then, a sound, a creak in the hallway. The door opened wider. Ryan leaned against the frame, his expression unreadable. You two having a midnight therapy session? I pulled my hand back, startled. He just came in to talk. Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Sure. Talking. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. You know, Leo's always had a thing for broken hearts. Ryan, Leo said sharply, that's not, but Ryan only laughed, sitting on the chair opposite us. Relax, man. We're all friends here. His tone was light, but something about it felt staged, almost rehearsed. That he looked at me. You trust him, don't you, Ethan? The question twisted inside me. Yes, I think so. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Then trust me too. Sometimes you need to let go to heal. It was a strange thing to say, intimate, invasive, almost cruel in its kindness. I didn't answer. Leo stood abruptly. This is stupid. I'm going. But Ryan stopped him with a look, sharp, commanding. Don't, Ryan said. He wants you to stay. My throat tightened. Ryan, what are you doing? He smiled faintly. Helping you. You've built walls so high no one can reach you anymore. By planning this? My voice cracked. Ryan's silence was confirmation enough. The realization hit me like cold water, every laugh at dinner, every nudge, every look. None of it had been coincidence. That I stood, anger and confusion warring inside me. You both think this is what I needed? To feel used? Leo's face softened. Ethan, that's not. Don't, I said sharply. Just don't. The room fell quiet except for the rain hammering the glass. Ryan sighed, rising to leave. You'll understand one day, he said, his voice almost tender. Sometimes you have to break before you can heal. The door closed behind him. Leo stayed for a long moment, then whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I couldn't answer. My chest ached with something tangled, betrayal, shame, and a strange flicker of longing that made it worse. When he finally left, I sat in the dark, every sound of the storm echoing inside me. Ryan's words replayed in my mind, cruel and intimate all at once. You'll understand one day. Maybe he was right. But that night, all I understood was that trust, once cracked, never sounds the same again. Morning arrived without mercy. The storm had passed, leaving a stillness that pressed against the house like a secret refusing to fade. I woke to sunlight spilling across the room, too bright, too honest. The air carried the faint scent of wine and something heavier, guilt. Maybe. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the half-empty glasses on the table. The events of the night replayed in my mind like a film I didn't remember agreeing to watch. Ryan's words, "You'll understand one day," echoed until they lost their meaning. Down the hall, I heard voices. Laughter. Familiar, casual, easy, as though nothing had happened. I followed the sound to the kitchen, every step slower than the one before. Ryan was frying eggs, humming a tune under his breath. Leo sat at the counter, scrolling through his phone. When he saw me, his expression shifted, first surprise, then something close to shame. "Morning," Ryan said brightly, not looking up. "Coffee's fresh." I stared at him, waiting for the apology that never came. "That's it? After last night?" He turned, spatula in hand, eyebrows raised as if I'd interrupted a normal morning. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth," I said. "Why? Why did you plan it?" Ryan set the pan aside, his smile fading. "You needed to feel something again, Ethan. You've been walking around like a ghost for months. I thought, maybe if you remembered what it was like to be wanted." "Wanted?" I cut in. "That wasn't about wanting. That was manipulation." Leo stood, his voice low. "He's right, Ryan. It wasn't fair." Ryan's jaw tightened. "You're the one who went along with it." Leo flinched, then looked at me. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. At first, I thought it was just a way to cheer you up, but then," he stopped, shaking his head. "I started to care. That wasn't supposed to happen." I wanted to believe him, but every word felt like another thread in the same web. "You both decided what I needed without asking me," I said quietly. "Do you know what that feels like? To have your pain turned into someone else's project?" Ryan leaned against the counter, folding his arms. "You're overreacting. Nothing happened that you didn't allow." The sentence hit like a slap. Consent twisted into justification that I stepped back, heart pounding. "You don't get to decide what I allowed. You made me feel safe, and then used that against me." For the first time, Ryan's confidence cracked. He looked away, muttering something under his breath I couldn't catch. Leo reached for my arm, but I moved before he could touch me. "I'm leaving," I said. "Ethan," Leo started, but I shook my head. "Don't. Whatever you think this was, it wasn't real." I went back to the guest room, packing my things with trembling hands. Every item that went into the bag felt heavier than it should have, as though the air itself resisted letting me leave. When I turned, Leo stood at the doorway, hesitant, guilt written across his face. "I just wanted you to know," he said softly, "last night wasn't all a lie. I did care." I met his eyes, searching for the sincerity I'd missed before. "Maybe it was there, maybe not. You can't build something real on deceit," I said. "Even if your heart means well." He nodded, eyes lowering. "I know." Outside, the sky hung gray and quiet. The driveway was slick from the rain, the scent of wet earth heavy in the air. As I loaded my bag into the car, Ryan appeared on the porch. "You're really leaving?" he called out that I didn't look at him. "You got what you wanted. You made me feel something." He didn't answer. Maybe he couldn't. That I started the car, the engine breaking the silence that had settled over everything. For a moment, I glanced in the rearview mirror, Ryan still standing there, Leo behind him, both of them framed by the doorway like a memory I was trying to escape. As I drove away, the reflection faded, replaced by the open road stretching ahead. The voice in my mind, the one that used to whisper doubt, was quiet now, replaced by something clearer. harder that I had trusted them, and they had crossed a line I didn't even know existed. But maybe, in that betrayal, I'd found something unexpected, a reminder that I could still feel anger, hurt, and the will to move forward. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from kindness. Sometimes, it comes from walking away. That I didn't glance back again, but as the rain began to fall once more, I couldn't help thinking of Ryan's final words. "You'll understand one day." Maybe I would. Just not today. 3 weeks had passed since I left Ryan's house, yet the echo of that night followed me everywhere. Cities change, faces blur, but certain memories, especially the ones carved by betrayal, cling like shadows. I had moved back into my small apartment, the same one Caleb and I once shared. It felt emptier now, but emptiness, I discovered, was cleaner than deceit. That I spent my mornings at the cafe below my building, pretending to read while mostly staring out the window. The world kept moving, indifferent to my small storm. Yet, beneath that routine calm, something restless began to stir. I wasn't sure if it was anger, forgiveness, or curiosity, perhaps a mix of all three. Ryan had texted twice. I didn't reply. Leo hadn't tried at all. That silence hurt more than I wanted to admit. For all his apologies, his absence was its own kind of message. But then again, maybe silence was mercy. It was a Thursday evening when everything shifted again. I came home from work, exhausted, only to find a small envelope slipped under my door. My name written in Ryan's unmistakable handwriting. I stood there for a long moment, debating whether to throw it away. Curiosity won. Inside was a note, short, almost hesitant. "Ethan, I know I crossed a line. I've been trying to make sense of what I did. If you can, meet me at the lake tomorrow evening. Alone." Pleased that I should have ignored it. Logic screamed that nothing good could come from reopening that wound. But logic and closure rarely speak the same language. The next evening, the air by the lake carried a familiar chill. Ryan was already there, leaning against his car, hands buried in his jacket pockets. He looked smaller somehow, his confidence dimmed. When he saw me, relief flickered across his face. "You came," he said softly. "Don't make it sound like forgiveness," I replied. That he nodded, eyes down. "I don't expect that. I just needed to see you. Needed to say something." "Then say it." He hesitated, searching for words. "I thought I was helping you," he said finally. "I thought if I broke you open, you'd start feeling again. But I didn't realize I was only feeding my own guilt." "Guilt for what?" I asked. His eyes lifted to mine, steady but tired. "For watching you fall apart after Caleb and doing nothing. For knowing what that kind of pain feels like." The confession landed between us like a stone in still water. "You've been cheated on too?" I asked quietly. He gave a small, humorless laugh. "Yeah. Years ago. Someone I trusted. It made me cruel in ways I didn't notice. I guess I projected that on you." The wind moved through the trees, carrying the faint scent of rain. For the first time since that night, I saw not the confident cousin who orchestrated my undoing, but a man desperate to rewrite his own mistakes. "I can't erase what happened," Ryan said, voice trembling now. "But I can tell you it wasn't meant to break you. It was supposed to wake you up. I just didn't understand that you were already awake, just hurting." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My chest felt heavy, full of unsaid things. I wanted to hate him, but hate requires energy I no longer had. "I don't know what you want from me," I said finally. "Nothing," he answered. "Just, maybe a chance to be family again, someday." We stood there, the silence stretching long. The lake shimmered under the dim light, an unsteady mirror of everything between us, distorted but still reflecting something true. "I'll think about it," I said at last. Ryan smiled faintly, the kind that belonged more to regret than hope. "That's more than I deserve." He turned toward his car, but before leaving, he looked back. "Leo's been trying to call you. He's not doing great either." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. When I finally walked away, the sky had darkened, clouds gathering again like an omen, Or maybe a cleansing. That night, I lay awake once more, but the silence felt different this time. Not accusing. Not suffocating. Just, waiting. Ryan's words circled in my mind, maybe a chance to be family again, someday, maybe someday, but as I drifted toward uneasy sleep, another thought rose, one I hadn't allowed myself before. If Ryan's guilt had led him to confess, what would Leo's silence reveal? And for the first time since that night, I wasn't sure if I wanted answers, or if I was afraid of finding them.